Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1990 Chevy CK2500 Cheyenne. Up front is a 5.7 liter V8, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I'm super excited to be driving this pickup truck because A, it's so basic, but B, I've never driven a vehicle of this generation. So this is known internally at GM as the GMT400. So the Tahoes, Suburbans, Yukons, Silverados, Sierras, everything that has this like square body style from the early 90s was on the same platform. That's the GMT400. I've driven the 800, I've driven the 900 and beyond. And so I'm excited to sort of take a little bit of a step back, take a look back into the past, and take a look at the GMT400 as a whole. But if you would like to share your vehicle with me, you can head on over to my website, zachpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 5.7 liter Chevy 350 under the hood. Well, it was pretty much their bread and butter at the time, and they slowly transitioned it to the 5.3 liter LS engine later down the road, but this engine has been in use and was in use for decades before this truck even hit the streets. And you're gonna notice that this is a lot more older GM than it is newer GM. And so these engines are as reliable as the day is long, and if you do have issues, they're incredibly easy to work on. Parts are very, very available. You won't have too much worries. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic transmission. It's doing fine, it's shifting. I don't really have much else to ask it to do. It's still functioning. Pretty impressive in that respect. Last but not least, this particular truck is 4-wheel drive, and we'll talk about how to select that a little bit later on. So how does it feel to actually drive a Chevy CK Cheyenne? Well, it's very, very simple and basic, but it's very truck. The engine does what it's supposed to. The transmission does what it's supposed to. Everything works as it should, and it doesn't have any extra fluff associated with it. This is also kind of a product of the 80s, so it does have really thin A-pillars, giving you great visibility out the front. Of course, this is a single cab, so great visibility out the back. And overall, it's fantastic to drive. I understand why there's still companies to this day that use this vehicle, and I love to see that. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a bunch of gauges that are meant to look more futuristic than they are. Off to the left, I have my water temperature and oil pressure. In the center, I have my speedometer, and off to the right, I have my fuel and battery voltage. No tachometer found here in the vehicle. However, these really remind me of the same era Chevy S10 gauges seen here. You can see how like it kind of looks more modern than it is, or they tried to make it look more modern than it actually is. On the steering wheel, I don't get anything. I do get a little wiper stalk to the bottom left, but I don't have anything, not even an airbag, because this is still a couple years before they were legally mandated. Off to the left, I have a climate control vent and my headlight switches. This is very on brand with like the Pontiac Grand Prix I've driven. Lots of other old GM products have this style switch in it. I have my parking brake release, and moving onto the door, I just have my crank for the windows and latch to get in and out. Incredibly simple door cards. Moving into the center, the simplicity continues with 2 climate control vents, an aftermarket radio. Kind of attached to the gauge cluster, I do have some very basic climate controls in a cubby, but nothing really to see here. No AC. A little ashtray off to the left, and that's it. That's all you get here in this truck, which is hilarious to see. Down on the floor, we do have a shifter. So this is for the 4-wheel drive settings, 4 high, 4 low. And I love the fact that they give you a little diagram. I think that that's lovely. It's very like futuristic. You see the grid pattern behind it, like very, very cool. This turn from the 80s into the 90s, you saw this a lot. And I know I already quoted the 89 Grand Prix that I drove, but take a look at that interior and then take a look at this. You can see that same sort of styling playing throughout. Very, very interesting. However, what you won't find down here is a cup holder, so unfortunately, the CK fails the big friggin' bottle test. We do get a bench seat, which is finished in this lovely 80s velour style fabric. I think this is one of the best parts of the interior. It's comfy. It doesn't hold you in worth a crap, but that's okay. It's a bench seat in a truck, and the driver does get an armrest, but sadly, no one else does. Now, we don't have any back seats, but we will hop around the back and take a look at the bed to see what's back there. All right, so this is the first trunk review with a celebrity guest. I don't know if you can see him. I'll show an iPhone photo here. That's scary. That's scary. Anyway, around the back here, we do have the tailgate that pops down. Absolutely love that. I get some tie-down hooks that have been added, some factory ones, but other than that, extremely basic. You put stuff in the back, and then you take stuff out of the back. That's it. That's what this truck was meant for. It doesn't need an outlet and a light and a step to get up and a step to get down and fold out the back, and there's speakers and steps, and, you know, it'll cook you breakfast, it'll tuck you in at night. No, it doesn't need any of that. It is just a truck, and I love that. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love the boxiness of this era of trucks, the GMT400. Although besides that, it's very, very bland and basic. It looks like any pickup truck that any grade school kid would draw, and I think there is a certain charm to that for sure, but at the same time, it's just very, very uneventful, uninteresting, and uncool. However, I actually do have a little soft spot for these. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the GMT400, better known currently as the CK Cheyenne? Well, the Cheyenne is pretty much the base model. This really didn't get any amenities, and I kind of love that. I love driving base model pickup trucks because this truck was meant to do a job, and the owner Daniel said that his friends have driven this truck more than he has. He has it to do lumber runs or to pick up giant things from the hardware store, but it isn't his daily driver, and so whenever someone texts him and says, hey, you know, mind if I borrow the truck, he says yes. And so this gets used by his friend group for a variety of many different things, and it's very good at doing that. It's basic, it's simple. There's not much that can go wrong. That engine and transmission have been proven to be reliable. But the biggest thing is that I absolutely love the GMT800. The GMT800 is my favorite chassis of truck probably ever. And so to be stepping foot now in a 400, the generation that came before it, it's cool to sort of see the little resemblances of where the GMT800 got some of its features. But this is the early days, baby. This is, you know, their debut album. I know Chevy was making trucks way before this, but you understand my point. This is before they hit it big. This is before the Escalade was one of the most famous and influential SUVs. This is before the Tahoe and Suburban were family neighborhood staples. This is before the glitz and the glamour. But this is an era of simplicity and beauty. And that's why these trucks will always have a soft spot in my mind and in my heart, because they are wonderful. And it's just like a bouncy ball. You can't go wrong with a bouncy ball. Even when you try to break it or throw it at your brother or throw it into traffic, it always bounces back and comes right back to you. That's what this truck is. It just doesn't give up, and it's going to serve this purpose for many, many years to come. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Daniel for letting me take out his GMT400. This is so cool to be driving. This is one of my bucket lists. I've never done something of this chassis, and so it's always exciting to me to check another one off. And huge thank you to Daniel. I'm filming a bunch of his vehicles here today, and he's been absolutely awesome to work with, and I can't wait to work with him more in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.